Hey, cool. Well, I'm just going to start, Gil. And if I do it wrong, you can yell at me, okay?
This is just the first time.
It's the first time. So this is me, Rachel Reed, here with Robin. We've never met each other in real life. And we're both just insane aesthetics connoisseurs, right?
I think aesthetics obsessive.
Yeah, aesthetics
Obsessive.
obsessive. And luckily, we were introduced by our lovely friend Gil, and I got to read Charlotte's book, which is, why don't you tell me about Charlotte's book?
Charlotte's book. I started Charlotte's book, gosh, like a decade ago now, I want to say. And it used to
Whoa.
be, yeah, it's evolved. It used to be just a blog, like a complete blog where I was talking to, it was really New York City focused. And I was
Okay.
talking to all the surgeons in New York, all the mostly dermatologists, some plastic surgeons, nutritionists, wellness, etc. And when I started it, I was late 30s and I had just left JP Morgan. I was there for 15 years. And then I just wanted to start it because I felt like there wasn't really anything talking to like a 40 something. See, now I'm like almost on the brink of 50. But at that time, I was like, oh, there's nothing really talking to 40 somethings. And also, which I still think is a really big problem with magazines and podcast, a lot of the stuff out there, it just felt very like too editorialized. Like it wasn't really good sort of like girlfriend talk, like real stuff, that so I wanted to make it more sort of bloggy and but focusing on dermatology and surgeons and treatments and really good stuff. And then I had it for about a year
Hmm.
and people actually really liked what I was writing about. So crazy. And and then I got moved into I had a few things like Town and Country magazine did a little like snippet on it and they were like, this is the best newsletter ever. Like, you have to subscribe. And then my newsletter sort of became a thing. And then I got a lot of people in my newsletter, and I would send that every week. And it'd be kind of, it mostly beauty focused, but also nutrition, but a little bit of like funny sarcasm, like really just real bloggy, good writing. And then it got a hit in Town and Country. And then Refinery 29, does that still exist?
I think so.
So then Refinery 29 did a big article on it, all organic, none of it just. And so they did a big article on it, and then people started reading it and writing it, whatever. And then Bobby Brown became a reader.
Dude,
And isn't that so crazy? And then so she at the time became the editor of
I lost
Yahoo
my ear, but I'm
Health.
listening.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she was the editor of Yahoo Health, and she was like, "Oh, I love it." And she reached out to me and she was reading it, and then she put it into the Yahoo syndication network. And it got to a point where it was having like 250,000 monthly visitors, which is a lot. I know.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then so that was a few years in. And then in the end of 2018, I had the most, horrific divorce that's like 5 episodes in itself. And then I just stopped doing everything because I had to deal with my crazy situation that was going on.
Right.
So I didn't write on it for like, it just went silent for like 2 or 3 years. I just
Where was
stopped.
this hosted?
I did it at that it was a WordPress. It was just a website
WordPress. It was a
WordPress.
website.
It was
Okay,
a website.
because I'm reading it on Substack.
Yeah. It was a full website. And then when I finally thought to myself, you know what, I have to kind of get back into this and start writing a bit again and work on it because I still had my newsletter, and my newsletter always had a lot of dedicated readers, like very high
Mhm.
open rate, and like I think a good quality of people that was opening up. So like, you know what, I'm going to start writing again. I have time and I feel like I could do this again. So I moved it to Substack because Substack is so much easier to use. You don't have
Well,
to
everybody's
have
using it now.
everyone. Like WordPress, you have to upload everything on the back end to WordPress. You have to do a whole thing, blah, 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 blah. Then you
Mhm.
have to connect it to a newsletter platform. Then you have to make a separate newsletter. Like it's very labor intensive.
Do you remember Zanga?
No, what's that?
You don't remember Zanga? Substack's giving Zanga vibes. It's like it was when I was in like 7th grade. So like for viewers, although we don't know if this will actually be published or not, we are what? We're like 10 years apart. You're 47?
48.
48. Okay,
Monday.
I'm 40. That's right. Happy late birthday.
Thank you.
I turned 38 in October. So we're about 10 years apart. So I was in like probably 5th grade when I got grounded for using Zanga, but it was essentially like a life, like in real life, like blog. And Then everyone started blogging and putting these things via Pinterest, but they were hosting on WordPress and doing all the back end work. And now Substack, we're just doing link trees from Instagram, getting these regular like Substack
Yeah.
emails for people who subscribe to. And I only have subscribed to two people, which is you and then Brittany, who owns House of Preservation, that aesthetic spot here
Yeah.
in Austin and Dallas that we've talked about.
I need to subscribe to that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. It's just so easy to read people's material on it, and it's such a good flow and whatever. So, yeah, so then I moved it to Substack, I think maybe 3 years ago, I wanna say, and I just moved my email list over and moved it over and then just started, kind of getting back into writing stuff again, and that's that.
I
Yeah.
love it. It's going really well. I mean, I can't believe you've been doing this 10 years. Like, I feel like I'm a veteran, and then I look at people like Melinda Farah and I'm like, okay, well, that's the only person I know who's been like as psychotic as I am for longer. But now you're telling me 10 years? Like,
I know. It was
wow.
time. And when I started doing it, it was really great because I have so many. I think that's why people stick with it and they read it. I have so many good people on it, like really famous doctors that wanted to collaborate and be a part of it. Like Robert Analik is he's a huge celebrity doctor in New York now, and Doris Day, and then and Dennis Gross, and all the good people were continuing to add content on it, and they
So
just kind of
cool.
wanted to be a part of it and, interview. And I think it was just a little bit of a different outlet than being a because the only option for them at the time was like, oh, you get a quote in a magazine or you have to hire a PR person. And I was just sort of like constantly feeding in just questions and yeah.
But
And they
how did you infiltrate these doctors? Did you infiltrate them once people like Bobby Brown and like you got some clout behind it, or like what?
well,
Tell me
I
more.
was seeing okay, so my very first foray into aesthetics. Do you remember Dr. Brandt? Do you know who that is?
That sounds so familiar. I feel like I should
Okay, so
look
he
this
was
up.
kinda like the very first celebrity doctor. I
I'm
think there's a
looking.
Netflix documentary. He ended up killing himself, actually. It's a pretty crazy story.
There's
But
definitely a
he
Netflix
was
documentary.
yeah, I think there's a
R.I.P.
documentary on it. He was the first celebrity derm, and he used to do all of the old school supermodels. So, like the original era of supermodels, like
Like Janice
Linda
Dickinson?
yeah, well, like, way back, like, the Linda Evangelista, sort of that
Okay.
era of, like, first
Mhm.
supermodels, and so he had this really beautiful, crazy office in New York filled with, like, art and this, and he used to dress in all black, and he was kinda like the pioneer of how to be a celebrity dermatologist, and he had a huge skincare line and all this kinda stuff, and you go in and it'd be like his whole waiting room would be famous people, like Kelly Ripa, like, all the New York people.
So cool. Yeah.
So I went in there and I think I was maybe I don't know, like 29 is the first time I started getting Botox. So he was kind of and at the time, Dr. Analik was his junior doctor, and now he's super famous and does all these celebrities and whatnot. That was my first foray in, and so I was already going to see those doctors,
Mhm.
and so when I talked to Dr. Brand and Dr. Anna, like he was the junior guy at the time, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna start a blog, a beauty blog." Because at the time, Into the Gloss was also really big at the time, but it was very young. It was like super, super young. It was all like 20 somethings and whatnot. And I was like, I could give two shits what a 20 something does to their face. You know what I mean? So, um, it was like, "Oh, I wanna do something that targeted a little bit older, like more in the 40-year-old."
Right.
And I was like, "And the 40-year-olds are the one like, they have way more money anyway." Like, I wanted to, target more affluent, like, New York 40-year-old women that are doing all this stuff, but they don't really have anything to look for or to read other than magazines, which we all know is paid for PR bullshit anyway. So, that's how it started, and they all were like, "Yeah, awesome, no problem." And they all sort of bought it, and I think it's a little bit of a dominoes, like, as soon as you get 1 or 2 famous doctor, every other doctor wants to be included, like, every doctor wants to be included, right? So then everybody started putting into it, and then they also started writing, like, Shireen Idris from
Mm-mm.
Idris Derm? Okay, so she has, like, millions on Instagram and whatnot, she's the Pillow Talk derm, she was writing
Yes.
for yeah, so Shireen, like, who she's writing stories for me, like, she has a but that's why I have a bunch of content from her on there, and then I would see her on this and, and so I would just kind of visit with them and get, like, the down low on stuff and write a bunch of stuff. So everybody wanted to be included which was awesome. And they still are really super collaborative. And everybody, like if I email anyone, hey, I want to do a story on this or whatever, they're like, no problem. What do you need? And so I think it's always had a really good network of experts, mostly New York focused because that's where I was located. But if I've reached out to people, like they kind of are like, yeah, obviously I'd love to be included in it. So
Okay, that's so cool and it's so interesting and it's like this big archive of like just exceptional people that you have access to, which I
yeah.
think that you can talk a lot about, but it's also I didn't realize, but since you have all of this clout with all of these like really well-known physicians and derms and other writers, when you started doing facelift consults, were these doctors aware of who you were?
Didn't so I had a few of them were. I specifically didn't reach out under my Charlotte's Book anything.
Really?
I know, and some of my friends are like, "What are you doing? Why wouldn't you use that to your advantage?
Yeah.
Get a free facelift and get free consults and like, why wouldn't you?"
Totally.
So idiotic, like, you know? And I was like, "I just kinda wanna see how I'm treated as a normal person, like, I don't wanna get special treatment." So, I don't know why that was maybe silly of me, and I think I told you, like, I did get offered free, like, really, really big discounts on a facelift and some consults and things like that, but I don't know, I feel like I just want the doctor to approach me as if I was just any normal person because I want a doctor that would not treat someone special that was coming in for media.
I feel like this is epic. It's like Undercover Boss. Do you remember that show?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know? It's like
Yeah.
Undercover Boss. What's interesting, a little bit of chisme, as we say in Spanish, or gossip, is that I'm actually talking to a physician who you may or may not have used, who obviously knows I know you, and I'm having a really hard time, like, getting.
Sorry, I lost you. Would you say getting what?
Can you hear
I
me?
lost.
Can you
I
hear
can't
me?
hear.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yeah.
And they know who you are. And
And
I'm just
what are
showing in the
you struggling
consult.
with? Are they not
Like, I'm
responding to you?
like, it's like not bad, like, I'm getting, like, some, like, response, but, like, I've just done so many of these consults, and so have you, that, like, I think
Yeah.
that it's funny, and maybe you've had similar experiences, like, some of the doctor's offices I go to, like, the patient care coordinator will be very like, "Hey, just following up, where are you at in your journey?" Or, like, "What are you looking for?" And then
Yeah.
others are like, they'll get you
Yeah.
in, they're really detailed about it, they get you the quote. And then this one that I'm having is like, we're talking, but it's just like a lot more casual and they're not so interested in like hooking me. So I
Mm.
sent a follow-up text
A
today.
lot of the found and some like I have found this the patient coordinator and that outreach system I think is so interesting because I've met with people who were really famous doctors and then their office is so
Mm,
aggressive trying to hook me that turns me off because I'm like how do you have so much availability? Why are you after me so
totally.
much? Why are you emailing me all the time? Aren't you supposed to be this famous doctor? Why do you have so many slots? Like so sometimes that has been a turn off but then on the opposite side, I've had the same experience where I'm like, "Why aren't you following up? Why?" So I don't know. There's this weird middle path that I feel that they have
Mhm.
to follow because you don't want to too aggressive trying to because I've had, that's been a big turnoff for me for some of the offices. Like they are so aggressive trying to get my deposit that I don't want to give it to them anymore. And I'm like, I can't take this. This is
It's
too
like
much.
selling a
It's like
freaking
stressing
car,
me
like,
out.
there was a doctor and it's
Yeah.
so funny, like, if we actually end up, like, publishing any of these, we'll have to, like, talk well, I mean, I know you're going to, but, like, this one in particular, we're gonna talk about, like, if we say people's names and if we don't, because, like, there's a doctor that
I
I saw, and I'm not gonna say anything more than that. You did not consult with this doctor. I'm like 99.9, but I liked the work, I liked the accreditations, but in person, the vibe was just so off, and they have continually
mm,
pursued me, but there's some personal overlap. So I know, like, eventually, like, we're going to, be reconnected, and then I think that if they would have, like, backed off a little bit, I could have been like, "Okay, it was just, like, not the right vibe." Kind of like the first time we talked, you were like, "Are you gonna pick the
yeah.
friendliest cardiovascular surgeon if you need open heart surgery, or are you gonna pick the best?" And that's kinda how I
Right.
felt about this
Right.
particular plastic surgeon, but now that I've literally been reached out to, like, 8 times, I'm like, "You obviously need my business." Yeah.
Right. It's so weird. It's a weird thing because that's what so to revisit for this conversation, yeah, like if you needed a heart surgeon because you were gonna die, you would not care at
No.
all about their bed. manner. Like, you literally wouldn't even think
Totally.
about their bedside manner. And I know a lot of people think that with facelifts too. They're like, I don't care. I just want to see before and afters. It's only about results. But I think that it's such a psychological mind fuck journey. Like like the whole process. That to me, the bedside manner was a big part of it, and just the office in general, and the coordinator and everybody in the office, because I feel that you need a lot of hand holding, like a
Yeah,
lot of hand holding
that's your
post
face.
recovery. Yeah. Yeah, it's your face, and it's so psychological, and it's just, I mean, yeah, the amount of times I think like in all of my follow-ups, I saw Dr. Murphy every 2 days, and it's one of the reasons that I chose him, because I really like that there was so much
Mhm.
interaction with him. Some doctors, they just see you, you come out, and then, you get your stitches out 7 days later, or whatever it is, this designated day, and he sees you every 2 days. And so not only did I liked the slowness of the stitches, but I knew every 2 days that he was seeing me in person, and if something was not looking right, I would
Mhm.
know right away, right? Because I had this check-in with him, and every 2 days I was like pointing out 1,000,000 things that were wrong with my face. I'm like, look, it's so puffy here. Look at this. Look at this. Why is this fucked up? And then like every 2 days became a joke. So I would put the list in my phone of like 20 things that I had to like point out for him. We had to go. So I would come in and he'd be like, what's on the list today? Let's just calm you down. Go through your whole list of what you think is
That's
messed up.
so funny.
And
It's
I
so
was like,
good. The thing I like about Murphy seeing you, and which I'm really excited, I hope that I get this consult nailed down. My goal is to, I'm going to Europe for like 5 weeks, and then I'm going to fly back here. I'm going to
yeah.
see clients in the med spa for like 2 days. And then I think I'm going to, after we talked, I decided I wasn't going to do virtual. I think I'm going to fly into West Palm Beach. Unfortunately, the connections from Austin just like suck. And then see him and fly right back because I need to see clients still. But I'm excited about the every 2 days thing because I feel like from being a provider who does aesthetics and knowing providers,
Yeah.
when you're seeing your work you're confronted with that work every day. Like it's different than a doctor if you fly to up in New York and you're there and they see you usually day after surgery and then once more before you leave and then you're done. But if you're seeing them every 2 days, it's just like
Hmm.
this form of accountability.
Yeah, yeah. It made me feel so much at ease too that he was coming in all the time, looking at the stitches, looking at the stitches, and it was just a slow, "This is ready, this isn't ready," and I don't know, I think that I healed so well, like,
Mhm.
physically and mentally through that whole process.
Yeah,
I thought it was
I love
awesome.
that.
When did I think about getting a facelift? Okay, so I've been going to, I think I started getting Botox when I was like 29. Then I was seeing Dr. Analyc. I saw Shireen for a bit. And then Doris Day, who's an amazing dermatologist in New York, I've been seeing forever. She probably knows my face the best. And a few years ago, she was sitting there doing my Botox, and she looks at me and she goes, I think that maybe you
Oh,
should
no.
get your eyes done, because it's like there's only so much that the Botox can do. You know what I mean? Which is, I really appreciate that she said that to me. She's like, it's just like I can't just keep. She didn't say this, but it's sort of like, you can't just keep jacking me
Like
up
doing a
with,
brow lift.
like, there's
Yeah.
only so much. So right. Well, she goes, I'll give you, so she sent me to Brett Cutlass, who is like the eye guy. He's the eye guy. Like every person goes to him. He's like, if you want to get your eyes done, you go to him. So let me tell you, one of my pet peeves on the gatekeepers is that there are so many people that have a facelift and have had a facelift that lie about it, that drives me wild. And I could probably talk on this topic forever. Like Charlize
Like
Theron, where
Demi
she came out and
Moore,
she goes, "Oh, it's just my red light." Demi Moore and like all these young people. And like, I don't know about you, but like, I feel like all of my friend community in LA is like, yeah, I know Charlize Theron, she had a facelift. This is the doctor she went to. Like, people know that she's had one, but like the general public is fooled into like, oh yeah, if you just buy this stupid fucking red light, you can have a really tight jawline. And it's an impossible thing to achieve.
mhm,
Impossible. So I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves, I think, is that like when you're kind of in these little inner circles, like I don't know, like for Gwyneth Paltrow, everybody I know is like, oh yeah, she went to this doctor, she got a little facelift. Like, so I think that, they'll probably deny, but you absolutely, like, there's a certain point where you have to do something surgical. And I think that there's this weird thing where it's like, no, you can age naturally and this and all this fucking bullshit. I actually think moving forward with a little tuck of surgery is way more natural than doing like Thermage and Altera and filler like over and over and over until you look puffy and
100%.
puffed up.
I think that when we talk about those things, that we also have to take price point into consideration, and no, we're not looking at just the Upper East Side, New York. Like, I think Melinda Farah, I think this one thing we keep going back to, and you mentioned this last time, I believe, is she did that huge poll. I mean, she's got a huge following now. Like, what price point are most no, it was actually another friend who's really into aesthetics I was talking to. But I don't know if you saw it. She did a huge poll, like, what price point are most people wanting to fall into whenever they're looking for a facelift, and I believe it was like 30 to 60,000.
Conversation with Dr. Murphy, and I have this conversation with my friends all the time, and it's not only about what you can afford and wealth. I don't even think that has anything to do with it. It's like, what is an appropriate thing to pay for this type of surgery? And then sometimes, because I forget, there's someone else I follow on Instagram, and she facelift journey and everything, and she looks great. She's like, I only paid $17,000 for my facelift, and I'm like, actually, that just seems like
I
too
think it's I
low
am is it
for
I Am
some the
Boho Blonde? She's the Australian who got it done in Turkey? Okay,
no, but I'll look at that. No. This is another one, I think she's in the
okay.
Midwest somewhere, and they're always critiquing, and she does these videos with her doctor, who's this older guy, and he's constantly coming on and making this critique about how ridiculous it is that a facelift should be 100,
Mhm,
$1,000, and there's no difference in the quality of work. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think it should be $200,000. Clearly, these people are screening, and they only wanna work with the super wealthy, and that's a whole other thing. But it's a lot of work. It's a 7-hour surgery, and there's a lot of things in that you're paying for, and I think that when you come down, like, to the value of that, it's, like, somewhere in the 30 to 70, depending on what you need, and I had this conversation with Dr. Murphy because, like, in full disclosure, right, my total bill was about 60-ish, right? And he said to me, he goes, "Oh, some patients think that I should be charging more." Because I said, "Yeah." And he said, "What would you have paid? What would you have paid?" He's like, "When you were shopping around, what was your budget?" And I said, "To be honest, I think my upper limit was probably like 100, and only because I don't know. I think about it like the facelift is, to me, supposed to
mhm,
last a decade. So how do I amortize this over 10 years, and what's the value to me? I'm probably spending somewhere between three to $6,000 a
mhm,
year anyway on like fillers and this oh shit. So if I have to do that, like, and I said that's kind of how I came up with that number. It was more of like an
mhm.
economics number. I'm trying to think of like how much I would have spent over a
Yeah,
decade.
like, what's my ROI on this until I have
Right.
to
So
do it again?
okay. Exactly. It 100%, because if you do one thermage, that
Totally.
could be 5 grand, and you're supposed to do it, what,
Or even like a
once a
Fraxel
year? So
laser. I
I'm
mean, what are
already at
those
5 grand.
for, like, face, neck, and décolletage? It's like 2,500, you know? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And I've had this, and so because I had somebody write me a note on Instagram the other day. I just did a story on like the ROI, return on investment, the return on investment of what you spent on a facelift. And we got in a whole like debate with someone. I'm like, she's like, well, I can't afford it. It's a luxury item, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, I know women that are putting aside five to $10,000 a year in their 30s so that way they can afford this later. And I think that it's a huge
Mhm.
return on investment.
Totally. I mean, we could really like spiral off from here and talk about like how much more money women make when they are actually aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. I think the number is like 36% or something. Like,
Yeah. That's a
mhm,
huge part of it, and I think, like, I think it's so naive, like, all the sort of anti-fem like, the super feminist people like, "Oh, you shouldn't do this," but I'm like, "No, it's just a fact of life, like, since the dawn of time, like, more attractive people get perceived differently, like, like, we can't change that. I'm
like
so sorry, but you
Sydney
cannot change
Sweeney's
that."
jeans, she sold some fucking jeans.
Right.
You know? Like, sorry, cancel us.
Really? Like this?
Love the glasses
Okay.
edition, Robin. And I also think we need to paint this room. Oh, you can't paint it, it's a rental. We need to get something back there that is more your color palette because you and I are the same color palette. We're both deep bottoms for sure.
I really wanna do the one. Have you ever done one of those color
I've
analysis
used AI to do
things?
it, and I think we're both deep bottoms, which
Okay.
means this
I have
color
to
and
look
that
more
color
in.
behind you are very similar, and they're not our best color. We need like an
Right.
espresso
I
brown, like
I
a
don't.
like an espresso
Yeah.
brown or like a deep maroon or like a dark green, then we'll
Yeah.
really pop and be hotter.
That's why I need, cause so now over the last year, I need to have reading glasses on, like, at all times. So I need to get these are were already colored, but I wanna work on a yellow is not my color. It needs to be like a brown or like a
Pause.
dusty rose or something.
So
Yeah.
I spent an outrageous amount of money on these sunglasses, like $3,000. So yes, it's outrageous. I know.
Oh my god. I feel
But is this
I'm like, "No, no, that's
no,
a
I
laser." No, I'm
know.
just
I
kidding.
should there are only 150 of them made in the world, so maybe I can sell them one day and like but is
Oh my
that more the
god.
color or is this not our color?
Well, mine's more yellow and yours is more
Okay.
brown. Brown is good.
Now I look like a drug dealer, so I think I have to take mine off. But we're facelift dealers, bitches.
That's a oh, I love it. I think I'm such a faceless
Yeah.
pusher now, like, I'm so every one of my friends that will, "Oh, I think I'm gonna get this." I'm
Get a
like, "Just save your
facelift.
money and get a facelift. Just get a face." Yes, get the facelift.
Fa fa facelift dealer.
I'm such a
Yeah.
facelift pusher. I get so many questions on, how to find the surgeon, the recovery, all these things, the cost, like all these minuscule little decisions. Because I think I've said this before. If you ask me, I'd say 5 to 7 years ago, maybe 10, like I would be one of those people that would say, I'm never doing a facelift. No
Whoa.
way, no chance. Like 100%. It was not even in my arena of options. And so I think it's an interesting sort of crossover. And I start to see that now. Some of my friends that are, 50 ish, like they wouldn't even do Botox. They're so anti stuff. And now all of a sudden they're like, maybe I should, so I think it's an interesting journey that you kind of go through. But I've had so many questions on so many levels on not only finding the doctor, but also like my friend's having a facelift in 2 weeks. And I just tried to prep her because people never talk about how stiff your neck is and the recovery. And like they think like, oh, you get a facelift and 2 weeks later, this is how you look. I mean, there's so many other things after that you feel and go through that you don't. I think that Instagram makes it look so easy. Like it's this really
Right.
simple surgery, but we've talked about it, it's like a facelift is a real intense surgery. Like it's no joke. And I think just really prepping people for all the things that that I've done afterwards, which I think has made a huge help in my recovery, doing so well. So I think that's a good way to talk to intro it because so many people are interested and so many people are interested in like, where's your scar? What does your ear look like now? What did you do that? All these little things that I think you get little snippets on Instagram, but you can't really tell like what the
Mhm.
reality of
I
it.
like that, and I also like this is just popping into my head, but, like, something that came up after talking to you, I changed how I wanted to consult, and I changed when I wanted to have my surgery. I also pretty much confirmed the physician I was going to use, assuming everything works out okay, but Nyack, one of the biggest names out there, especially for people, lots of different reasons, we can discuss that later, but I saw his one of his patients post, or he posted one of his patients say, "It's 2 months later, I'm loving my results, but I'm still so like my swelling is so dependent on my lifestyle, on how much sleep I'm getting, on if I'm drinking." And it's like, damn, it's 2 months later. Physicians are posting, oh, 8 weeks follow-up, and you're telling me it's 3 months out and you're still like having a hard time in yoga getting full range of motion.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, for the first 8 weeks, I mean, your neck is so stiff, and I didn't drink caffeine, I didn't drink alcohol, I did nothing but walk for 3 months, like, not a stitch of exercise, and everything I ate, if I had anything remotely salty, it was like the next day my
Right.
face blew up, and I think you have to be so thoughtful and careful for that full
Mhm.
3-month period, and I think like, I'd say now like, I'm still numb a little bit, like,
Mhm.
around here, in front of my ear and the stitches. I think I'm probably, if I had to guess, maybe 90, 95, but I still have
Mhm.
numbness under here, and I still am a bit numb here. Like, I'm not concerned about it. I
Yeah,
know
no.
that it
Yeah.
is gonna come back. It's totally normal, but I think people like, my friend that is gonna have her facelift in 2 weeks, I went over to her house because she's gonna and I just helped her set up. I'm like, "Make sure you put everything on the counter because like just moving your neck
Mhm.
up and down and around like it feels like you have a vice like it's I can't even describe how stiff it is. It's insane. And just setting her up with everything that she needs and just even basically you touch your face for a while and you can't even
So
feel it.
weird.
It feels like you have a mask on, and so it takes a really long time, and I think people forget, like, how that recovery is super, super important, and yeah, you feel like the littlest thing that you do, I wouldn't even go for a jog or run or anything because it was, I would immediately swell up.
That's crazy.
Immediately. So I have, like, I think you can kinda for the first time you can't see now, but for this is really going away. It was really red under here
Looks
for a while,
great.
but it's going
That
away
looks
now.
great.
And I did a wheel yesterday, which was my first time doing, like, a full yoga wheel because I didn't feel like I had the full
Can you do
mobility
this?
in my neck. Not totally yet. I feel like I could go like that, and then it starts
Oh
to feel
god.
good.
Okay.
Yeah.
That can be, like, something on the podcast. What is Robin's current range of motion? Literally. I like that.
Mm, I like that.
Yeah, right there. She's my professor.
I don't see when I see your brow, like, I feel like your brow is in a
My
really
brow
good
is dropped
position.
so low right now because I did too much disc work, actually. Like,
Really?
I tried to act surprised earlier when you said something, but look, can't even raise them. I'll send you a picture. I'll text you a picture after this of where my brow, like when I do a brow lift, it's just higher. My brow bone, it doesn't need to be much
Mm.
higher. Did you do a brow lift? I can't remember.
I did. I
So
did a
that's why you had your
temporal brow lift. The
staples.
incisions were
That's right.
yeah.
My main area, and this is, like, what I've noticed since I was 13, my best friend reminded me, she was like, "I remember being 13 and you doing this in the mirror." Like, this skin laxity yeah, I mean,
Really?
it's this is, like I know I have parts of my face that are attributed to aging, like the more squaring off of my jaw and stuff, because it used to be more taut, but this has been here my whole life, and that's one thing I loved about meeting with Dr.
Mm,
Timberlake in New York was that so many of the surgeons I've seen have been like, "Oh, yeah, aging," and Timberlake's like, "This isn't aging. You were born like this." And I'm like, "I know." And that made me feel so good about him because he, like, recognized that, you know what I mean? And it also, like, kinda validated me a little bit because you get so much like, flack for being like, "Oh, you're 37 and talking about a facelift." It's like, "Well, I've been looking at this since I was, like, 33." So,
right. I feel like it's just certain things bother you like, everybody's different, and they have their own points on their face that they focus on and whatnot, and so but that's interesting since you were
that's really
that's
young, but it's
young.
just like how like if I showed you a picture of my father and my grandfather, you would see it. But it's also probably like when you were getting injected in New York with I can't remember the woman who was injecting you, but she told you you should get your eyes done. From that moment on, I guarantee you, you noticed your eyes.
I didn't even so I was mostly focused on my lower face because I was, like, going in I started getting a little bit of filler around my jaw to help with, like,
Mhm,
jowling. They
mhm.
put it here and put it here and whatnot, and I was really focused on that, and I hadn't even occurred to me
Right.
my eyes, and she's like, "No, it's your eyes," and then I went to Doctor Hidalgo, he's, like, the breast guy in New York, right? He did my boobs, and
Your
so
boobs look great.
I went to him. They're the tiny I've always had boobs, and I've always had really good boobs, and then when I was late no, I think I was maybe 35 or 36, I felt like they started to get a little saggy, and I was like, "Oh, this sucks," and, like, whatever. Anyway, so I went to him and I was like, "Listen, I don't want them to be bigger. I just want them to go back to the way they looked when I was 25 and they were like youthful and perky and blah 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 blah." Blah. And I was still working at JP Morgan. I was like, I'm a professional human being. Like I just want them to be
Yeah,
like
yeah.
look good again. So he put the tiniest implant they make. I think it's 110
Damn.
cc. Like
That's
it's
so
so
little.
small. It's the tiniest and if you feel my boob, you can't even find it. And so he put it like under the bone and here and they just went back to the way that they were and I was like, "Oh, I love it." Anyway, so but I went to him because I'm like, let me just I already have had surgery with him. I know he's respected. He's not known for facelifts, but he clearly does them. And so I went in to see him being like, do I need a facelift yet? And the second I sat down in the chair, he goes, "You're that's not the problem." He's like, "Your eyes are." And I was like, "What?" And then I
Yeah.
couldn't unsee it
Every
after that. I
picture,
couldn't
every time you look in the
yeah.
mirror, you're like, "Shit." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it all started. And I was like,
I
"Really?
know.
My eyes? What?"
Well,
Yeah. But he only wanted to do an upper bleph. He
you
didn't
did an
wanna
upper,
do
right?
the bleph. I didn't
You
do
took it off.
I took out my upper I a panic attack the week before surgery,
That's
and
right.
I took
I
it
forgot
off.
about that.
But I have, like 2 years ago, I put in a 1 row
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
extensions, just 1, and it's
That's
the best
great.
thing I've ever done. I love it, and it's like, I don't really need it. I have a lot of hair, but it makes my hair
Yeah.
stay longer. Like, I don't have to
Makes
do my
sense.
hair.
It doesn't get flat probably. You have more
I
volume.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah, it's the best thing. I'm a hair extension pusher and a
You're
facelift
like a
pusher.
dealer. You're a dealer.
Do do
You
it,
need my
do it, do
glasses.
it.
I know I love yours, but these give you more like dealer vibes.
I need a few
I
different
really
ones. I
like the
didn't bring
ones
my
you
other
have.
ones once. I have
Wait, no.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Was that what you sent us on Instagram, that couple getting
Well, it's probably because he's fat. GLP-1s. We got a whole peptide episode, Roman.
by about a million. I can talk for wait, by the way, yeah, I just have to tell you one thing I saw this morning that I thought was amazing. So where I live here in Australia, it's called the Gold Coast, and it's very cheesy. Everyone is really cheesy. Okay. Like I can't even, there's no other place like it that tops. Maybe Dubai. I've never been to Dubai, so it could. And everybody has these crazy houses. Okay. And when I was walking Arrow this morning, there's this house that's about 2 blocks down that's been for sale for a while. It's for $30 million. Okay. And it's right on the corner. It's a really beautiful house, and I think somebody just bought it, and I'm walking by with Arrow, and they had the garage open so I could see all their cars. And there's really big car culture here, like, people cruise along the beach, it's like you have their cars, and I look in, and there's all these crazy cars, and one of them is this old school Ferrari, like a Magnum PI Ferrari, and it is hot metallic pink. It is a Barbie pink with sparkles on it, and the license plate
I
says
kind of like
"Wicked,"
it.
and I cannot wait who's driving this car, who has bought this house. I cannot
I
wait
don't
to
know.
see
I
who's
think it's
driving
really
the hot
good.
pink
I
Wicked.
think maybe that is maybe you have a photo shoot and that's the cover of your podcast in the pink Ferrari. Befriend them, Robin. You take some cookies over there.
I just try to be
Yeah.
friends.
Get rid of the New York and like channel your inner
Oh
Texas.
my god. People are so crazy and over the top here. I've never seen anything like
Well,
it.
now I
It's
want to come.
nuts.
I'll have to come visit you.
Hot pink. Who would ruin such a beautiful vintage car by painting it
I
hot
bet a woman
metallic
with
pink?
really big boobs, blonde hair, and fake eyelashes. That's gonna be my guess. It's like the Brits and their teeth, you know? Like, is this a Mean Girl
It's
podcast? Oh my
dead.
god.
No, it just I can't. Maybe she's
She's
really
probably
nice.
great. Just yeah. I bet they do too. Maybe not the smartest, but let's see. I bet she has a fat husband.
I wanna see everything that's
Yeah.
gonna happen. I cannot wait to see
That
everything. This sounds
this
good,
is
people
part of
watching.
your saga.
I also tell me, because I was trying to look for someone, I'm like, "Oh, these," and think, like, what would be appealing to
Mhm.
someone, right? And I feel that they all seem really canned, maybe a little bit, like, whatever the best word for that is. Like, they're just kind of, like, teeing up lame questions for a doctor that I'm like, I don't like, I'm not gonna learn anything new from this other than what, some clip on Instagram that I could see. And I also don't really like, and this is did you see Melinda just started a Substack? And so that type of content is very boring to me. Like, it's like, oh, it's these theoretical, I don't know what you call it, like poetic long form, this is the price of beauty and this is what it's like. And I don't know, I feel like they're not
Yeah, they're
really
not
real.
relatable.
And I think that's why I've never really liked it. They're not relatable at all, and I've never really liked her because I just feel like her whole presence on Instagram is so
It is.
filtered. It's like everything that she has on is a filter. I've actually never seen her real face. Every photo is her taking a photo of herself in some fashion outfit, and her brows and her makeup, like, everything is so heavy and aggressive. And then I've actually heard from people in New York that have met with her that are like, "She doesn't look like that at all in
Yeah.
person." But you did a video with her, so I don't know, but, like, maybe she has
She had
filters on or
no
zooms or whatever it is.
makeup.
I
I
have
mean,
no
she
idea.
was still stunning when I saw her, but I think to your point, I mean, she didn't have makeup on though, but I think to your point, it's just kind of like we also all feel like we know Melinda, like people in our world who are going to listen to this type of stuff feel like we know
Yeah,
Melinda, but we don't actually know Melinda. All we know is there was Bo, like from her personal life for a long time. It was her and Bo and her
yeah,
and Bo. And then all of a sudden this guy just disappears. And now there's this new hot, tall, handsome, dark guy. Like and his name's like I forget what his name is, but John or whatever pops in and she's still like yapping about the same
yeah.
stuff about the guy who has been cyber attacking her on Reddit and lymphedema and whatever her price of beauty Substack was.
Yeah. I talked about this with Erin when I saw her, because she said, well, there was 2 things. She said, basically in Korea, you go and they're very generous with just knocking people out. Like, here, people don't wanna go under anesthesia, and, it's risky, and how long am I gonna be under, blah, blah. There, they're like, "Whatever,
Right.
we just put you out." Like, for the simplest thing, they put you out. And so they stack all the treatments, like Rachel was saying, like, they'll do 5 treatments in a row while you're under, whereas in the US, they do, they'll do max 1 at a
Mhm.
time, right? And she said it's very common there that they do that. And I said, "Do they have any is there any thoughts around, like, anesthesia risks and whatever, and how many times you should be under anesthesia in your life and all this stuff?" And she was like, "It's not even a thought."
Which is a whole nother thing and
So
really interesting because then you think about general and local and what Murphy's
yeah.
doing versus, ugh, there's so many ways, so many places to go.
Right, yep. Mhm.
I moved the desk back already. I think I can do that. I like Robin's
What
World.
a the only podcast I listen to, just moving from that's because I was thinking, "Okay, do I listen to any beauty podcasts?" And then I was thinking and then the answer is no, and then I was thinking, "Do I listen to any podcasts hosted by women?"
I do.
Which one do you listen to?
It's so embarrassing.
I'll tell you which one I listen to that I love. The only one I listen to for women is I really like the Betches one, Oversharing, is the 2 girls. It's their 2
I don't know,
sisters.
it's best. I like oversharing and I like people that are a little bit spicy, which is why I call her daddy is like not a fan personally, but why so many people listen to her.